the governing body of the Jehovah's Witness has concealed a secret to its members. A secret so dark that if exposed, it could lead to the collapse of Watchtower Society, but has been meticulously hidden through systematic control and psychological manipulation. This secret is hidden in plain sight. In the world overflowing with information, one organization has mastered an art that its members does not know. Now, for the Jehovah's Witness, the truth isn't a phrase. It's a carefully curated set of ideas designed to hide the reality so shocking it could unravel the entire faith.
Sister Snyder, we'd like to get to know more about you. Can you please first tell us how you got the truth?
I was introduced to the truth by my parents, and Jehovah used the example of my sister and the nurturing love of older ones in the congregations to draw me to him.
But have you ever asked a similar question? Maybe when you were just coming into the truth?
Over the last few years, we've had a few changes with regard to the events that occurred during the Great Tribulation. And if you've been in the truth for a while, sometimes it's a bit hard to remember, was that what we used to believe, or is this what we believe now?
Imagine being told that every book you need is in your house, that every question has an answer, as long as that answer comes from one source. This is the reality of 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses. From childhood, they are taught that the JW Library app and Watchtower publications contain spiritual food, and that everything else is poison. How it works. The few men in New York decide what that truth is. They decide this years in advance. And writers at Warwick headquarters turn these decisions into articles. Members start these articles as if they were divine scriptures. What is the result? A closed loop where outside ideas do not interfere. Here's a clip from David Scaffe explaining how the truth is decided years in advance, and the whole process of converting this same truth into what is known as spiritual food.
It all begins with the theme. As Brother Morris pointed out at the 2017 Regional Convention, one-word themes are determined years in advance. That one word will guide those preparing the program. Dramas, the most labor-intensive part of a program, are developed 5 years in advance. To prepare scripts, the teaching committee cooperates closely with the writing department in working with a team known as the Drama Review Group. These experienced writers develop scriptural plots that teach lessons in harmony with the convention theme. Scripts are extensively researched and then sent to Audio-Video Services, or AVS, for production. All of this work has to begin early.
Here's what Dr. Stephen Hansen said, the cult expert. This is textbook information control. By restricting access to information, they ensure members can't compare doctrines to reality. It's how cults maintain power. And the punishment for curiosity, social death. Former elder William Holman said, I once mentioned a historical fact from an academic book. Within days, I was called into a back room and accused of apostate thinking. That was the beginning of the end for me. Just imagine, somebody just trying to provide an alternative view that after all, what we are studying may not be true. And that became a serious offense because that was apostate thinking. Now, apostasy is a very serious sin within the Jehovah's Witnesses. One of the top sins you can commit amongst the Jehovah's Witnesses. Another way the governing body of the Jehovah's Witnesses has actually ensured that this dark secret, so profound it could lead to the collapse of the organization, is that past documents are disappearing. We hear of reports of old books or physical copies being destroyed. We hear allegations of elders receiving instructions to destroy old copies of publications. This is a way of ensuring that past failed prophecies disappear. History, for the Jehovah's Witnesses, is a disappearing act. Take the 1975, the year Armageddon was all guaranteed. Members sold homes, sold businesses, stopped going for work, skipped college, and waited for paradise. When it didn't come, what happened? The Watchtower did not apologize. It is vanished evidence. If anything, the governing body blamed it on the members for looking too much into this issue. Here is more. The 1966 Awake proclaimed, 6,000 of human history will come to an end in 1975. Here is a pattern. Make a bold prediction. When it fails, quietly edit the record. Number 3, gaslight members into believing that the faithful always knew it wasn't certain. The 1975 internal memo read, "We cannot deny that our language implied certainty, but we must avoid admitting error to prevent stumbling the flock." This memo, obtained by former Bethlite Ramon Fraze, reveals the truth. They knew, and they chose deception over the truth. The Jehovah's Witnesses have actually become the thought police. This is how it plays. For example, let's take that a sister said something and she's before the elders. One elder would say, "Sister, your Bible study partner says you question the governing body's authority. Is that true?" Now, for Jehovah's Witnesses, doubt isn't a crisis of faith. It is a crime. And the punishment? A network of spiritual police who investigate wrong thinking. And here's what they do. Surveillance of members' beliefs, punishment for independent research, rewriting history to hide errors. Here's what Dr. Andrew Holden said. What we are seeing isn't religious discipline. It's epistemological control. They are not just dictating what you do. They are dictating what you are allowed to know. Here's a clip from a member of the governing body, David Splain.
How poisonous are apostate teachings? Let's find out as we watch the following video.
When I was in my 40s, I was divorced. I had 3 younger kids at home. I was working 3 jobs, and I had drifted away from the congregation. I had an acquaintance who was telling me that I was in a cult and that I needed to look at some information that he had. As I was reading this literature, I saw through it to an extent. But when you're drifting away, you're looking for a reason not to believe.
Here's a clip from Stephen Late.
But what does the voice of strangers say on this subject? Don't trust the faithful slave. He will mislead you. And who often have the loudest voice promoting this false message? Apostates. Hebrews 13:9 labels false messages as strange teachings. Yes, they are the teachings of strangers. Some examples of their strange teachings are that the faithful slave protects pedophiles, or that slave will exploit you so they can live lives of luxury. Those are both bald-faced lies. Acts 20:30 says that apostates speak twisted things.
The second method that the governing board of the Jehovah's Witnesses has carefully orchestrated to hide this dark secret, constructing a perfect prison of the mind. What if everything you believe was the truth was actually a carefully constructed prison? Not with bars, but with ideas so deeply implanted you would never think to question them. This is the reality of 8 million Jehovah's Witnesses. We are going to expose how the Watchtower Society has built what experts call the perfect mind control system. And it all starts with 3 psychological traps. Trap number 1, branding the truth. But here is the issue. From their first memories, Jehovah's Witnesses have been told one phrase above all others, and that is, we have the truth. Yes, a truth with capital T. Now, this is not just grammar. This is a deliberate branding. When you grow up believing that your religion is not just a set of beliefs, but is the truth with a capital T, something dangerous happens. Anything outside that automatically becomes a lie. That is the implication. Children sing songs about staying in the truth. They rehearse Watchtower's scripted answers. By the time they become adults, questioning their organization is the same as questioning whether the sky is blue. And that's exactly what the governing body wants. Not faith, but unquestioning obedience.
Recently, we received a letter from the Personnel Committee about the subject of obedience. Speaking about the lessons we have learned during the lockdown, the letter stated, "Perhaps the greatest thing we have learned is the importance of obedience. In this, you, dear brothers and sisters, have set an outstanding example. As God's servants, we are obedient from the heart, as we read at Romans 6:17. What does that mean? We are obedient because we love Jehovah. How have we benefited from the instructions that we receive from Jehovah's organization? A married couple in this country said, "Following the directions we received gave us peace of mind." And a brother in Peru said, "I feel now better prepared to be obedient to instructions yet to come." Question: what is the link between Armageddon and obedience? Now, James chapter 3, verse 17 helps us to find the answer. There we read that we need to be ready to obey. There is a similarity between those Roman soldiers in the past and us today. We too have to be well-trained and ready to obey. Why? Because the obedience that we develop today will help us to obey life-saving instructions that we will receive from God's organization in the future. When the nations attack us and the war of Armageddon follows, showing obedience will be our protection.
Branding alone is not enough. To maintain control, you must eliminate competing voices. This is where now you enter the second trap: isolation. Jehovah's Witnesses are taught that outside, the worldly people are spiritually dangerous. They are not just mistaken. They don't just believe wrong things or have wrong beliefs, but these people are actively under the influence of Satan. If you are enjoying this video, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that when I upload the next episode, you'll receive a notification and you'll not miss a single episode.
They have what is called a theocratic worldview, meaning that God's law is above and beyond any human law. If I have to submit to any kind of law, I'm going to submit to God's law.
These videos, produced for the Jehovah's Witnesses website, show happy and carefree worshipers. What they don't show, the sheltered lives, the strict rules meant to protect against the Satan-led outside world. Witnesses are required to spend hours spreading Jehovah's word door to door and at street corner carts like these. They don't celebrate holidays, no Christmases, no birthdays. And those who don't obey the rules risk being shunned by friends and family.
You have very, very little connection with the outside world. Your entire world is that. So if you're shunned from that, who do you turn to? Who do you have as support? It's very difficult.
Imagine being told that your kind co-worker, your loving parent, your cousin, grandpa, whoever is close to you is a spiritual threat. That your childhood friend could actually corrupt you. That even your own family members, if they are not in the truth, they are not Jehovah's Witnesses, might weaken your faith.
We must know Jehovah well. That means knowing his thinking on matters. We should welcome such an examination and make any necessary changes. For example, let's read 1 Corinthians chapter 15 and verse 33 together. Here we read, "Do not be misled. Bad associations spoil useful habits." As familiar as that principle is, can you think of an area in your life where it's difficult to apply?
The organization controls what you think, what you read, where you go, who you can associate with, who you can marry. Everything is controlled by the organization in order to ensure that you don't get exposed to competing voices, to alternative views, to alternative ideas. Perfect trap, perfect system to ensure that this dark secret hidden from members so dark that if exposed could lead to the collapse of the Watchtower Society, is perfectly kept and secured in plain sight. The final piece of this psychological prison, the perfect one, the best amongst all the traps, it's so powerful that compliance is almost automatic, subconsciously, unconsciously automatic. And what is that? Fear. Jehovah's Witnesses are constantly kept in fear. I was going through chats on one XJW WhatsApp platform, and one member asked, what is it that when you left found so difficult to let go? Some of them mentioned the fear of Armageddon. And if mentally they know it's not true, but psychologically they fear that it might come anytime. We hear of stories of children fearing that Armageddon fire will fall from heaven and consume them when they were children. Here is a clip.
As a child, every night that you went to bed, you believed this may be your last night. You may not wake up.
Of course, it was always constantly that Armageddon could be coming at any minute.
What does Armageddon look like in the world of the Jehovah's Witnesses?
In my head, it was giant fireballs coming out of the sky and people screaming and dying in front of me.
A fiery death wasn't the only thing that scared Tricia. In fact, in a way, her own world had already ended. Since she was a child, she says, she had been abused by someone she should have been able to trust the most.
So this is not just ordinary fear, but existential terror of Armageddon. Watchtower illustrates cities burning, guns blazing and being fired.
So to help us to make sure that we've got some idea of some of the events that occur during the Great Tribulation, let's look at this review. What event starts the Great Tribulation? The destruction of Babylon the Great. That will be the time when the political powers turn on the world empire of false religion, showing their disgust for this symbolic prostitute. This will lead to the destruction of all false religious organizations. What event ends the Great Tribulation? The Battle of Armageddon. That will be the final part of the Great Tribulation. Jesus, along with the resurrected 144,000 and myriads of angels, will battle with all those who oppose Jehovah, his kingdom, and his people here on earth. This will be the war of the great day of God the Almighty.
Convention videos depict non-witnesses begging for mercy as fire rains from heaven.
And Jehovah's Witnesses believe in Armageddon, the final battle between God and all wicked humans. They believe it'll happen any day now.
Armageddon is a battle. It's a battle against the forces of darkness, and the only way to be saved is to actually follow Jehovah and adopt our interpretation of the Bible. That's essentially it.
Who else but Christ Jesus would lead the heavenly forces to the Battle of Armageddon? False religion has already been destroyed. Now Jesus turns his attention to what remains of Satan's wicked world, its political and commercial systems. He dismantles, destroys, and brings to nothing all who oppose true worship on earth.
Children grow up fearing that their school friends will soon be destroyed by God. This constant state of anxiety serves one purpose: to keep members obedient. When you genuinely believe that the world could end any time, you don't plan for retirement. You don't build a house. You don't get a university degree. You don't get a high-paying job. Your focus is to work for Jehovah's organization, because it's through Jehovah's organization that you are going to be saved.
You need just enough to go by because, the world's going to end anyway.
And you also don't question authority. You obey, not out of love, but out of sheer survival instinct.
I'm watching the broadcast. I'm watching their morning worship videos. I'm reading these magazines, and I'm paying attention. I'm looking at what they're saying. And I find myself becoming increasingly disturbed at what I'm reading. I'm reading it not as a witness that I'm just going to accept everything. This is all the truth. Thank goodness for the spiritual food. I'm looking at it and I'm like, what is going on here? And so I actually want to give you and your audience a couple examples of that. This is from the December 2022 Watchtower, page 21. I didn't get the month on that one. But these quotes I'm about to mention are all about obedience, obeying the authority, obeying the governing body, which is Jehovah's Witness leadership. It's their leaders, the governing body. This quote says, "Do your best to obey the direction you receive, even if you do not fully understand why it is being given." Another one, November Watchtower 2015. "The life-saving direction that we receive from Jehovah's organization may not appear practical from a human standpoint. All of us must be ready to obey any instructions we may receive, whether these appear sound from a strategic or human standpoint or not." Another one, this is from the Meeting Workbook of 2020, November. "We should likewise listen to any instructions we receive from Jehovah's organization and obey promptly and wholeheartedly. This is true even if it does not seem important to follow them, or we do not understand the reason for the instructions." This is this is a pattern. This is something they've been saying more and more and more and more, and getting a little more extreme with it too. In fact, I mentioned the JW Broadcasting. I think it was the October edition of the JW Broadcasting. They said the same thing again in one of the talks. And so I'm hearing this and I'm following the thread on what does this mean? Like, they keep saying obey, 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 obey. Obey if it doesn't make sense. Obey if you disagree with it. Don't ask questions. Obey if everything inside your mind and heart is screaming out at you, don't do this thing, you need to obey. And I'm like, that's not good. That's unhealthy. First of all, that's like, if you applied that standard to any relationship, that's not a healthy relationship.
And these are the people who say we are saved by grace. And yet, you can only survive Armageddon by fear, by works, by compliance. Now, the psychological trap is only half the truth. But what happens when fear is used to empty bank accounts? When members are deliberately kept poor and exhausted? That is the topic of our next episode. So in the next episode, we follow the money trail and expose how the Watchtower Society profits by keeping its members in financial bondage. If you are enjoying this video, kindly like, subscribe, and smash the notice bell so that when I upload the next episode, you'll receive a notification and you'll not miss a single episode. If you have any questions, you are seeking clarifications, you don't agree with what I've said, kindly put them in the comments below. If you don't agree with me, also put that in the comments below. Let's start the conversation. To watch the video on how the Jehovah's Witnesses have silently acknowledged that Jehovah is not God's divine name, click on this link. To watch how the Jehovah's Witnesses have developed a sophisticated mind control system, click on this link.